yung udto sa tanan nato nga mga kasibya. Happy Chinese New Year o Advance Valentine's Day sad sa tanan nato nga mga kaigsuonan nga nagtan-aw sa laing edisyon ug laing episode sa atong tulumanon Magnegosyo Ta Bai. Kauban nato ang Department of Labor Employment ug University of San Carlos mga kasibya ug kami sab sa Sibya TV. Sangan sa tong makaubanan sa Sibya TV, ako si Angie Saniel. Magkat-o na sabta mga kasibya hangtod alas 2 karong hapon sa lain na sad nga mga leksyon sa kahanginan, lessons on air. Kalabot gyud ni sa pagnegosyo. For the last week, muraga, bugat-bugat kay itong gihisgutan, ilabi na kay finances to no, kwarta gyud ang gituki nato dinhi, taas-taas kaayo to ang mga nahisgutan nato atol sa ato ang episode. Ug karon nga naa na ta sa ikaduhang semana sa buwan sa Pebrero mga kasibya, murag gipahaom sad ba ni sa atong mga selebrasyon sa nakalabay nga adlaw ug sa padong pa nga mga adlaw mga kasibya. Apan nindot kaayo ni ang atong sawan karong adlaw. Mao na manghinaot mi nga kamo padayon nga muuban og maminaw nato hangtod sa paghuman sa atong tulumanon sa Magnegosyo Ta Bai. Ug nasad may mga pa-premyo of course, katong mga wala pay pang date diha, wala pay pang gift sa ilahang mga minahal sa kinabuhi. Bisan sa inyo mga yung parents, inyong mga friends, makadaog mo rong hapon kung maminaw mo sa atong hilisgutanan mga kasibya. So standby mo kay mohatag tag instructions karong taod-taod. Sa di pa ato sang i-welcome atong makaubanan sad sa USCKNN. Unahon nato si Ma'am Carmen Piramide. Ma'am Carmen, maayong udto.
May udto Miss Angie niya kay Valentine's Day man ma. So
Ma'am Carms,
no?
Ma'am Carmen,
Mute.
marag wa ka na mo nadunggan, ma'am. Marag naalay gamay technical problem. Basin sa earphone na ni mo, Ma'am Carms. Balikan ka na mo rong tadto Ma'am Carmen. Sa ato sang pangumustahon po si Sir Devin. Go, Sir Devin. Maayong udto.
Mayang udto Angie, mayang udto mga kasibya. Welcome to Magnegosyo Ta Bai episode. Kung si Fathay o advance, Happy Valentine's Day. Red na red is Angie ka adlaw.
Mangita gyud kog sininar pa sa ato ang
Kay
mga
gahapon Chinese
celebration.
New Year, ugma Valentine's Day.
Sakto gyud kayong po atong gipili mga kasibya. Si Ma'am Carmen, I think marag ni connect nato imong audio, ma'am. Marag madungga na ka Ma'am Carmen. So ayan daw nato. Ma'am Carms. Ma'am Carmen. So ay daw ma'am, marag na okay na to earlier, ni connect na imong audio. Or marag si Ma'am Carmen ang di isa makadungog nato.
Dili pa kadungog.
Sige lang. Ato lang siyang balikan karong tatod mga kasibya. Pansato pang gikaingon kami nyo makauban karong hapon sa lain sang edisyon sa Magnegosyo Ta Bai. Karong taod-taod na atay mga KNN winners for the past season na gyud ni sa KNN. Nimong successful silang pagnegosyo and I think kuan pod ni pahaom pod kay ilang mga products alang pod karon nga daghantang celebration for the month of February mga kasibya. Aron matabangan pa gyud sila natay bisita karong hapon nga ikauban sa atong tulumanon. Sa di pa nato siya ipaila-ila ato sang i-flash sa atong screens ang mga pangutana. Nga dunay kalambigitan sa iyang hisgutan karong hapon kay kahibaw kung mao ni inyong gipaabot mga kasibya alang sa ato ang mga papremyo dinhi na sa Sibya TV. Karong hapuna ang atong hisgutanan mga kasibya kalabot sa emotional intelligence. Kini di ay dako sad kaayog ikatabang sa ato ang pagnegosyo. And I think nindot po ning pangumustahon no kung kumusta po ang emotional intelligence sa ato ang mga entrepreneurs nga makauban nato dinhi sa KNN. So ang ato pangutana kay basin ma-flash na ko ang tubag anita sa pangutana sa ato ang hilisgutanan karong hapon makasibya. Makita ninyo sa ato ang screen. So actually, ang uban din guide questions, ang uban ani is dugang ni siya nga mapangutana pero tulo ha ato ang padaugon alang karong adlaw. May ning daghang pangutana, pili mo sa inyo matubag kay Valentine's sa ugang adlaw. So sa ato makita din sa screens nato una, this is the ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others and the ability to use this awareness to manage your behavior and relationships. Marag mao ni kinasayo ng pangutana sa tanan mga kasivya. So, atangin ninyo unsa ni nga word, unsa ni nga term ang gi-define sa mao nga question. Ikaduha, name one of the 5 core feelings. Ganahan ko makaton aning one of the 5 core feelings. So, usara sa 5 ang inyong ihatag na tubag. Name one of the 2 primary competencies in emotional intelligence. Sunod, name one of the 4 emotional intelligence skills. Or ikalima, maraganahan sila matubag gani, true or false, can emotional intelligence be developed? So pili lang mo ani ang tulo nga saktong tubag ang atong dawaton sa ato ang question and answer portion karong hapuna dinhi sa ato ang tulumanon sa Magnegosyo Ta Bai mga kasibya. Sa mga pangutana pa lang daan, murag ma-curious ta, Sir Devin, ang sakahay content ra, no?
Bitaon sa kanang emotion. Okay. Mamanoon na sila Valentine's Day ugma.
Lagi.
Sa kanang emotion.
Unsa manghilak ba kaning mga entrepreneurs naton, mahalilan sila or mag-breakdown ba sila? Basta dili ato na
Sa
makatunan.
kanang feelings, kay core feelings biya ko, no?
Da ganahan ko nga marag makatunan ni nato karong hapon mga kasibya. So di lang kami si Sir Devin, si Ma'am Carmen ug ako ug mga kini winners ang makaton. Apil na sab kining mga kasibya nato nga naminaw through our social media platforms. Again, ma-view mi ninyo sa Facebook sa Sibya TV, naa sa YouTube, sa LinkedIn ug uban pa nga mga social media accounts nato sa Sibya TV. Apan sa di pa nabalikan nato si Ma'am Carmen Piramide. Ma'am Carmen, tungkol to pag-usab.
Kanya na lang ta mag-istorya.
Sige, Ma'am Carmen. Balikan.
Nawagtan kong kadiyot sa
Pero anad na kasi Ma'am Carmen, nakabalik ra dayon sa ato ang Zoom, mga kasibya. So, naghisgot naman ta sa atong hilisgotanan kalamot sa emotional intelligence. Karong hapon na mo ni atong topic dinhi sa atong tulumanon sa Magnegosyo Ta Bai. Mao na sa way paglangay-langay makasibya, ato ang i-welcome ang ato aning bisita karong hapon dinhi sa atong tulumanon, si Ma'am Joy Roman alang sa iyang paghisgot kalabot ni sa emotional intelligence. Ma'am, ngayong hapon and welcome sa Sibya TV.
Hello, ngayong hapon sa tanan, Miss Angie, Sir David, and Miss Carmen.
Ang hapon.
Ngayong hapon. Kulba siya, ba't ka na? I'm excited to be here. So, salamat kaayo sa invitation.
Nakol ba sabi, Migay, unsa tong mga feelings ko, no?
Lagi. Daghan man din feelings nga mahibaw-an nato arong hapon na. So, Ma'am Joy, hopefully daghan mig mga makuha gyud ma-apply sa atong mga tigpaminaw karong hapon, di lang sa negosyo gani, I think sa atong tagsa-tagsa pod nga kinabuhi and ganahan kay kong matubag ang ikalimang pangutana kung ma-develop ba jud nato ang emotional intelligence. Mao nang makasibya ato nang hatagan sa higayon si Ma'am Joy at to start her presentation alang sa atong panag-uban karon sa Magnegosyo Ta Bai. Ma'am Joy?
Sige. So, again, may hapon sa tanan o kanang ako i-share akong screen. So, kanang lingaw kayo kay gahapon na jud ko nasayod nga while I was kanang reviewing the slides nga hala Valentine's Monday pa dong. So, wala jud ni gituyo nga topic, wala jud ni sa kunahuna nga pagpili ani nga topic ka padong Valentine's. But yes, murag timing, mayroon po nga timing, God is good. So, ang timing ra jud sa topic and the season ni collide jud siya ba. So,
may kita mo schedule, no?
Perfect timing.
John Miss Carmen. So, but anyways, I know with this program na naamo kanang, I think more on the technical side man good of doing business pa, the finances, general management, and also karon siguro i-break lang nako ang ice in a way nga kanang will touch into the people aspect of kanang running a business kay usahay manggod kaning people na aspect either malimtan or dili kita conscious kaayo ba kay ako manggod HR practitioner ko, so kani siya na mga topics are really close to me and this is something na kanang ako jud kanang advocate kay ko ba of kanang also considering the people side of doing business or managing a business. So hinaot ini kahuman ani nga session or kani nga pag-sharing nako sa inyo nga naay makatunan natong mga business owners or mga entrepreneurs kumbaga on how they would be able to understand what emotional intelligence is all about. So magpadayon ta. So ingon sila nga 75% kaning Center for Creative Leadership, 75% of careers are derailed for reasons related to emotional competencies, including inabilities to handle interpersonal problems, unsatisfactory team leadership during times of difficulty or conflict, or ability to adapt to change or elicit trust. So, kani siya, tinuod jud ni siya because usahay man gud malimtan nato ba nga basically we're working with people. Nagtrabaho ta with isig ingon nato ba mga tao pod nga we fail to recognize nga kaning mga tao na ani ng mga needs, na po ni sila yung mga kanang gipanghuna-huna, na po ni sila yung mga emosyon. So kani siya usay malimtan nga mag-una pirmi ang kita, ang kanang mga anything technical related to business. So but what this is saying to us is that kung 75% sa careers are derailed, how much will this impact the business? Okay, again, people run business. And if this is the case, it will also impact you directly the business in terms of iyang progress, iyang success, iyang profitability. So, this afternoon, kani ang murag subtopics that I'm going to discuss to you. Kung unsang emotional intelligence, unsang competencies and skills related to emotional intelligence, how to have it, and ngano importante man siya, what's in it for you as a business person, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, or even as an employee siguro, or even a manager at that. What's in it for you if you would get to understand unsa ang emotional intelligence? So, unsa siya? Let's have a storytelling. So, imagine na lang ha. So, okay, let's say you have a small business. Inaunta na lang milk tea man ang usa sa mga usoron kaayo ng mga ilimnonon kumbaga labi na kay padong summer, so milk tea. So say for example, ikaw tag-iya ka ani nga milk tea shop, gagahin jud ka og daghan kwarta, imuhang creative juices kumbaga, everything just to set up that business. So ang investment nimo perting dakua. And you have an employee, let's say one employee nga kanang bag-o ra jud nimo gi-train on how to kanang use these machines kumbaga to make a milk tea. Now one day, ikaw kanang as an owner went to the shop. Ito ka sa shop. When you went to the shop, kanang nindot kay mong adlaw, and then you would only find out that the only machine that you have to help produce a milk tea was broken down. Naguba siya. And ang nakakos sa guba is katong tao nimo na imong bago lang gitrain. What would you usually, or what would be the usual kanang reaction to that particular instance?
Maglagot?
Kung ikaw ang tag-iya, kanang the only machine that you have, nganuman. Nganuman, unsa man ka masuko ka, malipay ka.
Giunsa nimo. Or yana.
Okay. And unsa man siya, ang imuhang response to it, masuko ba ka? Okay lang ba ka? Lipay ra ka? Wala lang ka? By asking that question. Ngano naguba man na?
Murag manuyo jud ka.
Masuko jud ka, no?
Kaigona.
Masuko jud ka.
Gabi na og Valentine's Day. Halin unta ron.
Ma-stress ka.
Ma-stress ka.
Straight kagtangan.
Kung mixed feelings, it's a mix, no?
O diba? Kanang will there be a possibility nga ang imuhang kalagot mayabo nimo to the person sa katong empleyado nimo, mayabo jud nimo nga pwede kang muyaw-yaw og taas kaayo na tanang frustration nimo is given out nimo on that particular situation to that employee nimo, ha? Pwede ba ka siya?
May chance good. May chance good.
Oo. And that is true because kay normal man gud na siya, that is more or less the response kumbaga at that moment
immediate
kumbaga.
reaction.
Correct. So tan-aw sa nato ha, so that is the response of the owner. Tanaw na to ang side ni empleyado. So sa empleyado kanang maniguro jud kay mo niyang trabaho, iya jud gigam, gipaningkamutan jud niya na kanang makatunan ang unsaon paggamit ani nga particular nga machine. Nya by some mere chance wala niya tuyua nga kanang ang plug siguro ato nga machine basa, pagsuksok niya dito nibuto. Wala lang jud, it wasn't kanang meant to, it wasn't intentional, iya lang jud nalimtan lang jud. So unsa kay response
siya.
ni mahadlok siya.
Kuyawan
Hadlok-
siya.
Ako yawan siya.
Nga
Unsa pa?
makabayad siya.
Na makabayad siya. So ka-imagine mo sa
Ma-football siya.
most likely no ma-football siya or kanang matangtang siya sa trabaho. So kani siya nga gihuna-huna niya. Imagine nimo ang duha mag-abot. Ang katong tag-iya gayayaw, panuyo. Ang katong empleyado hadlok wa na kay baon sa hunahuna-on, daghan na kanang nasud sa hunahuna nga wala na jud ni akong trabaho plus makabayad pa jud ko asa ko kwarta. Tan-aw ninyo kaning sitwasyon that we are looking at right now, kaning si tag-iya sa business o kaning si empleyado. Do you think they will be able to come up with the solution to the situation given that kanang interaction? Yes. Tan-aw ninyo.
Kailangan nagiusa mo kalma. Kung wala, maglisod.
Diba? So, in essence, dili jud siya because both are in the height of their emotions. So, karon I'll walk you through kanang to better understand lang siguro perhaps most of you kamo diri sa Zoom o kanang naminaw na turon or nagtanaw na turon, perhaps murag naa sila'y level of kanang awareness siguro but wala pa bitaw jud kaayo lawom ang pagsabot ba with regard to this topic called emotional intelligence. So, but unya mo reference ta balik nga sa kato nga story or perhaps you can have another kanang example as we go along the discussion. So, now how we define emotional intelligence. So, emotional intelligence, which is also known as kanang EQ, right? Emotional quotient is the ability to understand and use and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, and overcome challenges and diffuse conflict. So this is kanang a type of kanang ability to for anyone to be able to have that awareness of how your emotions kanang really get to control how you would respond to a certain situation. Kana bitang how you would be able to kanang use and manage these emotions to make it a positive experience, not just for you, but also to the people that you are working with. Another definition of emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize your emotions, understand what they are telling you, and realize how your emotions affect people around you. So, kanang unsa ang isulti sa imong emotion nimo, kana betang kinahanglan ba jud ka magsyagit or kinahanglan ba jud ka magpakalma given that initial katong story that we shared kanang earlier. It involves your perception of others. When you understand how they feel, it will help you manage relationships more effectively. So dili lang ni siya emotional intelligence concerning ikaw as the person, but it also concerns you realizing, being aware of the emotions pud sa mga tao sa imuhang palibot. So dili lang ikaw, hasta pud sila. It's your ability to also look into, observe, and understand kanang how their emotions kanang contribute to how they respond to certain situations. It is also something in each of us that affects how we manage behavior, navigate social complexities, and make personal decisions that achieve personal results. So, what about emotion, how it governs us, and how we act on something. At the end of the day, ang emotional intelligence is really more on how will you be able to achieve if ang end in mind is to have a positive experience. Dili lang para sa imuha, hasta pod sa mga tao sa imuhang palibot, especially the people that you are working with. Now, kani nga discussion that I have, I borrowed a book from a friend kani siya, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now. So kani siya manggod na na book, medyo na siya price, but nindot siya because it has an assessment sa sulod. So the assessment will allow you actually to understand where you are at regarding your emotional intelligence level. Kay kani siya daghan siya kanang concepts ganahan, daghan siya og pamaagi, daghan siya og kanang information na mahatag sa inyo on how you'd be able to understand further your emotional intelligence. So para lang ako lang ma-attribute ba nga most of the key concepts I'm going to share with you is coming from this particular book kana siya. So at least if you want to check it out, naana siya sa itong mga local na mga bookstores. So now let's be scientific with emotional intelligence. So kaila man ta sa itong utok, no? So this is like the usual drawing of a brain. So they say nga naay tulo ka murag main areas in the brain that sort of like is part of the process of how our behaviors are governed. So we have the spinal cord, you have the limbic system, and then you have the frontal lobe, kumbaga, where you think rationally. Now, when we get to when our senses are triggered, what you see, what you smell, what you hear, what you taste, what you touch, these are senses that are converted into what we call bitang mga impulses bitaw sa brain, electrical signals, kumbaga nga. Once you see something, mo travel na kuno sa imong spinal cord diri sa ilalom sa imong ulo, and it goes through the limbic system and then the frontal lobe, kumbaga. So this is the space where you think rationally, and this is the space where your emotions are produced. So if you look at the arrow, di man siya moingon nga once you see something, you smell, hear, taste, touch, the senses are in action, nga inigsod sa electrical impulses diri or signals diri sa imong spinal cord, na moderate siya diri sa frontal lobe. Kung tan-aw ni mong arrow, muagi jud siya sa limbic system, which is where your emotions are produced. Kana bitawng example, you would see, let's say, beggars on the street. Di man ka immediately maghunahuna nga kani akong dapat rational nga buhaton. Muagi man siya sa feeling na hala luoy lagi siya. Luoy lagi siya, tagaan siguro nako og kwarta. That's the action that you're going to do because that's what you think is rational. Di man siya ingon na kakita kag beggar, hatag kag kwarta without really going through or understanding or knowing what emotions were elicited when you saw that particular stimulus. Imong nakita, senses. So again, senses goes to this process. You will first feel the emotion. You don't have any control of it until it goes to your rational thinking, kumbaga. So what is it that I am going to do? So ang naka-trigger, imong nabati, then what are you going to do? So inana ang process sa ato ang brain. Very powerful mo nang they would say nga kanang mo na maingon sila nga love sometimes dili jud na siya nasa heart na ana diri sa utok, kumbaga. So it goes through that process. So karon now mga tanan niya mo, so asa dayang emotional intelligence? So the communication between your emotional and rational part of your brain is the physical source of your emotional intelligence. So meaning, balik ta sa drawing ha, kung unsa ang gistorya ani ni limbic system o kaning part diri sa imuhang brain, how they communicate is the physical source of your emotional intelligence. Meaning, kung mubalik ka sa definition, how you are able to make your feelings be, how you are aware with your feelings, unsa ka grounded sa imong gibati, to a point that how you are going to use those emotions to act on something or even not act on something. So, kana siya. Now, kaila man siguro mo anino nila tanan kaning 5 kabuk nga characters. So, for those na wala so for those nga wala no kailaan nila, muni sila si Kuan, muni sila si sa Inside Out na salida nga si na kani si Joy,
Okay.
again wala din ako gituyo but kani si Joy, kani si disgust, kaning green, si anger,
Anger.
si sadness, og si fear man yata
Fear.
ni si FD ko if I'm not mistaken. So kani sila, this is sort of like kanang a symbolism of the 5 core feelings that we have. Para mas masabta na to kanang if we have senses like how we see, feel, touch, and the like, what are the emotions that are elicited? So basically, kani siya nga table. We have 5 core feelings. We have the happy feelings, the sad feelings, the angry feelings, the afraid na feelings, and the ashamed. Now, how we get to kanabitang, it's a mix of being aware and how we act on those awareness, kumbaga, is what this table is telling us. Now, kung happy ka, there are levels of intensity, kumbaga, levels of intensity with regard to when you feel happy, sad, angry, afraid, or ashamed. So if let's say, for example, you just feel good about the day, kumbaga, so generally happy ka, it would say nga, in terms of intensity, medium na siya. Medium ang imuhang na feel na happiness. So say for example, you katong balik ta sa katong example ganina nga katong empleyadong nakaguba sa machine sa milk tea. Let's say na hadlok na jud siya. Hadlok kay siya sa iyang amo kay wala na yang trabaho. So the intensity is high and the person is afraid. Perhaps the person is panicky. Perhaps the person is already fearful. So these are this is actually a table lang that would show the different emotions that would be triggered when senses are translated in sa ato ang brain. So again, kung sa tong makita, ma-feel, ma-hear, ma-touch, ma-taste, elicits these particular emotions. And again, depende sa intensity. Nga, example, katong story ganina, intense man jud ka ito, no? So the emotions are really high. When the emotions are really high, now, it will now be between your limbic system and your rational thinking na sila'y magstorya unsa may buhaton, magpadata sa tong gibati or sa katong giingon ni Sir Devin nga dapat magpakakalma ka. Choose to be calm para we would be able to think of a solution. Kay sometimes man good kung taas kay ito ang emotions, kabantay mo nang dinataka. Wala, bahala na unsay mo gawas sa imong bakba. Bahala unsay imong ilabay or unsay imong buhaton, either negative or positive na when your emotions are too high, sometimes di na ka kay ba nganong gibuhat gayto nako. Nganong nasulti man to nako. Like after makalma na ka, the question now starts to trigger nganong ni syagit ko ganina. Or nganong nang libre gani ko og dako kayo, dako kog nabayaran kay I'm so happy. Kay nakadako let's say for example, nindot ang sales and nilibre ko ni bangka ko sa tibok team niya na hurot akong 5,000. So, ngano ganing naging ato ko? So, we cannot rationalize anymore our actions because our emotions get to rule those kumbaga for us. So again, ang emotional intelligence is kanang how your feelings and your rational thinking get to communicate. Para, again, the end in mind is naa kay positive, effective kanang approach to the situation. If it meant solution, or you will act on it, or the like. So, munang 5 core feelings sa happy, sad, angry, afraid, ashamed. So, daghan kayo ng mga specific feelings there in the table. So, let's talk about triggers and emotional hijack. So, unsa din ni sila ang triggers and emotional hijack. So, when you talk about triggers are the events that happen in your life that elicits our emotional response. So, pareha tong katong ganina nga naguba ang only machine that would help you make milk tea. So, unsa kato siya triggers is going to trigger an emotion. Masuko ko. I'll be mad, I'll be frustrated, I'll be angry, I might be fearful. So these are called triggers. So events that kanang happen in your life that will elicit an emotional response. Basically, halos tanang ma-pick up sa senses nimo are actually triggers. And emotional hijacking, now it's actually a phenomena that happens when one's emotions control one's behavior and react without thinking. So muni katong example ka ganina nga, if you are too much on the spectrum, mo nang gingon nila nga, if you're too happy or too sad, don't decide on something or don't do anything. Kay most of the time, if dili ka in tune with your emotional intelligence, you might not be doing the right thing. So emotional hijacking is, these are matters of life and death, okay, that are certain to induce emotional hijacking. So, kanabit, again, the extremes, kumbaga. These are the more intense the emotions are, the greater the likelihood that they will dictate your actions. So, if you're too happy, hala, sige, happy-happy tatanan niya, ikaw man, ano ganito? Or let's say, if you're too frustrated or disappointed with something na, wala na, nagayaw-yaw na ka, na mura bitaw, was it even needed at that situation na magyaw-yaw ka, ingon ato? And when the emotion subsides, diha na ka maguno na lang, ano, gisulti to nako. Emotional hijacking can paralyze your rational thinking. So, be cautious lang jud na when you are at the height of your emotions, either negative na or positive na emotion, you need to have this consciousness nga that particular situation might paralyze your rational thinking. Okay, you're too happy, you're too sad man, or you're too grateful, or you're too angry. So, kana, extremes. Our brains are wired to make us feel the emotion. So, muna itong ganina, katubitong pag-travel sa katong impulses up to your rational thinking part sa imuhang brain. You can never control kanang the emotions that will be elicited out of those situations. However, the thoughts that follow after the emotion is recognized is something that you can control. Naa kay control ato. So, say for example, katong balik ta sa katong example nga, frustrated kay ko as the owner. So that's the feeling that I have. Now, if I'm going to act on the frustration or the situation, magpadabak ako sa akong kalagot, or do I need to think outside of the box because there's a problem and I need to find a solution to that problem? So katong akong bagong gisulti lang na finding that solution to the problem is actually your thoughts and that you can control of. So, and your response or reaction will be dependent to how aware you are of your emotions. So mooning emotional intelligence nga dapat you are really fully aware and you understand what triggers your emotions and how you can manage these emotions to make a positive kind of outcome of it, be it a solution or a response to the situation. So hopefully, I don't sound technical pa kaayo ha, but I hope it already makes some sense, kumbaga. So now EQ and IQ. So, unsa ning duha? Because again, emotional intelligence is also known as EQ or emotional quotient. Okay, some would say na EQ manggod at this time and age is the new IQ. So, EQ is the new
Yes.
IQ. Before manggod, siguro katong mga siguro 60s, 70s, 80s. Patas anay dyan ni og dere. So, kung dili ka bright, they say I don't know if it is true, but kanang pasa-pasa ra po ni na storya when I started to work na kung taas ka og dere, taas kang chances na musaka ka sa ladder or taas og chances na naa kay mas daghang opportunities kay bright man ka. But right now, siguro with all the generation labels, siguro with kanabitang the advances or how basically people are developed now. Okay, they say psychological development changes every 7 years. Unsang imuhang development siguro katong bata pa ka may not be the same development na ma-experience sa imong pag-umangkon or sa imong anak. So mag-change siya ba? But they say that right now, EQ is the new IQ. Now, mutouch lang ko ani gamay ha. So, emotional intelligence taps into the fundamental element of human behavior that is distinct from your intellect. So, klaro ni siya. They are saying na kanang right now there's no study that can prove nga there is this direct relationship between IQ and EQ. Dili mo ingon na kung bright kay ka, taas po kag EQ, or kung ubos kag IQ, ubos kag EQ. There's no relation to it. But again, EQ taps into the fundamental element of human behavior. Behavior siya, dili intelligence. Again, there's no connection between EQ and IQ. Wala siya correlation whatsoever. IQ is not flexible. Meaning they are saying na IQ manggod is something that is already, diha na ba, it's innate, it's mauna jud na siya, di na jud na siya mausab, because IQ is your ability to be able to learn something. So you cannot, it will not increase because of the amount of information na imong mabalaan. No, it's not. It's something that is not flexible. It's given already. But EQ is a flexible skill that can be learned. So hence, it can be developed. Okay, when you say skill, it's something manggod na kanabitang, there's this level. So 1 to 10 ba siya, 1 to 5, or 1 to 100. So kaning EQ, because there are already some tests, kumbaga, or measurements to assess your EQ, kumbaga, it can be learned. So later sa ato ang pag-share is, I am going to show you unsa ang ways to kanang develop this particular skill, because EQ is a skill. Dili man siya sama sa IQ nga something that is not flexible. This can be learned. It can be developed. So karon, let's talk about competence and skills. So muna katong the primary competencies and the 4 emotional intelligence skills. So this is more of like the one of the main or core elements of kanang understanding emotional intelligence. So, mahatag kong diagram ninyo ha. So, there are 2 primary competencies. They say, one is personal competence, and the second is social competence. So, kaning duha. Now, personal competence, this is where the 4 core skills in emotional intelligence come into play. You have self-awareness and you have self-management. So these 2 skills, kumbaga, is attributed to your personal competence. And under social competence, you have the social awareness skills, and you also have the relationship management skills, kumbaga. So your 2 primary competencies will be personal competence and social competence, and the 4 core skills of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationships. As I was reading through this katong book na akong gipakita sa inyo ha, this is actually connected to each other. Why? They say that self-awareness is your foundation. Magsugod man yun na sa imo ha. And then how you would be able to manage that self-awareness, and how you would be able to sort of like project and also do the same with those of the people around you. So kaning being aware of, your surroundings, your environment, the people that you're working with, and how you are going to harness all these 3, imong self-awareness, your ability to self-manage, and your social awareness to have kanang relationship management be effective and to your advantage. So I'm going to kanang explain further or give you more insights regarding these 2 competencies and then the 4 core skills. So for the competencies, so personal competence, no, so this is made up of your self-awareness and self-management skills. So katong first 2 core skills that I mentioned. This competence focus more in the individual than its interaction with others. So, mo nang gingon na sa imo ha, sa ikaw sa your awareness and self-management, because this is actually the ability to stay aware of your emotions and manage your behavior and tendencies. So, dili man gud ka makasabot sa uban, you can never be effective and efficient in understanding others if ikaw mismo waka kasabot sa imong kaugalingon. You do not know what triggers you. You do not know what is your usual response if you have this particular situation. So, munang giingon na you cannot give what you do not receive, kumbaga, or kanang what you do not have, kumbaga. So, munang ingon self-love sa una ko nagkaugalingon. And then once you're able to sort of like harness the skills, this is where the social competence kicks in. So again, this is made of the social awareness and relationship management skills. And this is actually the competence that allows you to understand other people's moods, behavior, and motives in order to improve the quality of your relationship. So again, di ba, kita as business owners or let's say managers in a company, we need to be really conscious, put it into mind and to heart na we are working with people. We are not working with machines. Kaning mga tao that we are working with, sama sad nato, are coming from different values. We are coming from different cultures. We're coming from kanang different beliefs of principles, kumbaga, ug unsa pa na siya diha in the way that we're doing things. So really understanding yourself and the people around you will really be beneficial kay usay man gud makalimuta ba nga kita tanan na narbaho. So how can we make, the working environment and experience really productive and advantageous to the advantage kumbaga ba of the owner of the business and even to the employees kumbaga of that particular organization. Now, katong for emotional intelligence skills. So katono, self-awareness, self-management, you have social awareness, and then you have relationship management. So I'm going to walk you through each of these EQ skills. So let's start with self-awareness. So unsa day ni siya? So this is your ability to accurately perceive your own emotions in the moment and understand your tendencies across situations. So how do I perceive, say for example, if akong silingan saba? Unsa ang emotion na i-trigger ana? Will I be okay lang? Will I be ay lingaw lagi sila or ay saba ani nila uy. So you need to understand how these situations triggers your emotion. This is about understanding what makes you tick. In other words, unsay makapa-trigger ba sa imuhang emotion? What makes you happy? Mubalik ta sa core feelings ha, what makes you happy? What makes you sad? What makes you angry? What makes you fearful? What makes you be ashamed of something? So you need to know unsa ni sila, unsay maka-trigger aning 5 core feelings kumbaga. Self-awareness lays the foundation for all the other EQ skills. So again, foundational kay ni siya. So you can never go to understanding or developing your self-management, your social awareness, and relationship management if you will not focus first on the self. So again, you need to this is the foundation for all of the other EQ skills. And the only way to genuinely understand your emotions is to spend enough time to figure out where they are coming from and why they are there. So, ngano kung inani akong makita, akong ma-feel, or let's say ako ang ma-touch, akong madunggan, ako ang ma-taste, mao man nga emotion ang mugawas. Nganong lahi man sa kaning tawhana, lahi ani niya sa ako lahi. So, okay, lain man, there might be a similar situation, but lahi ang emotions that are being elicited. So, you need to be aware of yourself. So, start with the self first. Now, self-management, kung you get to understand already what triggers the emotions, you are sort of like ready to also understand and develop your self-management skills. So this is your ability to use your emotional awareness to deliberately choose what you say and do. So once you understand na ako masuko ko if musod ko sa opisinang dili limpyo ang mga lamesa. Let's say, muna ang emotion na mo trigger. Masuko ko, kakita kong wala jud, gilimpyuhan, gisilhigan, before man lang nanguli. So, what will you do? What will you do as a response to that emotion? Based on itong hugaw na imong nakitaan. Kaya magtuumang ka nga, pagsudin mo sa let's say, kananan, yanong kananan nimo nga, gitarong nilag limpyo pero wala. What will you do? Magsagit ba ka? Or will you do something more productive, kumbaga, to solve the situation? So this is self-management. How will you act on that particular situation? This enables you to adjust and direct your responses to people and circumstances in a positive way and to decide whether to take action and the type of action to take. And this is, it is revealed as your ability to tolerate the uncertainty as you explore your emotions and options. So, mo ni siya ang kanabitang if you were to see self-management in action. Nga if there's an obvious situation that will call for you to be very happy or very sad or very angry or katong ubang core skills, kanabitang how you would suspend judgment if judgment meant action. Wa sa kanabitang dili lang you hold your horses ba, you kanang dili sa ka mo sulti mo pagawas og anything whether it be words or you will not elicit any action sa, because this is where kanabitang magpugong sa ka ba, the self management is going to kanang take place. Kay ba man kang kung masuko kay ka, muni mong tendencies. Kung malipay kay ka, muni mong tendencies. Kung galagot ka, muni mong tendencies. So, para ma-suspend nimo, dili sa nimo kanang buhaton ang unsay usually mong or naanda nimong buhaton as a response, hold lang sa ka. Because this is where self-management skills come into play. This is where you would actually see self-management in action. Now, naingon po na social awareness skills. So, unsa ni siya? This is your ability to accurately tune into others' emotions and understand what's really going on with them. Further, this requires the willingness and ability to understand others' perspective, even if they differ from yours. This is about listening and observing, suspending judgment, but just listening and observing. And to be socially aware that you have to spot and understand people's emotions while you're right there in the middle of it. So this is more of like you being in a network ba, na dili, no man is an island man. So naay kay mga kauban. So how is your social awareness in that particular kanang company, in that particular business, in that particular workspace? How are you aware of how they also perceive things? Meaning they, imong mga katrabaho, or let's say imuhang empleyado, or let's say imuhang boss, or ang tagiyas kumpanya. How fully aware are you with regard to how they perceive things, how they feel about certain things? Okay, this is where you will need to exercise a lot of listening and observing. Wala kay siya kanang, it's not suggesting even that you are going to react or to respond or to say anything. This is just mere listening and observation. Later, akong i-emphasize further nga no importante kayo ang social awareness. I think of all the three, this is one kanang skill nga I think all of us either mo agree mo or dili kuwang ta. Kay we are used to na kita wala sa tanag-tanaw sa mga tao sa ato ang palibot. Now, we also have relationship management. So this is the last of the four core skills. So this is your ability to apply your emotional awareness of yourself and of others to manage your relations and manage successful interactions. So this is actually the application of all the first three na mga skills kumbaga, because once you are fully aware of yourself, you're able to manage yourself, and you're also aware of, you have this kanang level of awareness na kumbaga of social awareness kumbaga, then you will be able to take those into your advantage by building on or creating successful interactions. Okay, we need to remember na every time we work, there is an interaction. Kanang musugo ka, na kay instruct, na kay papalit, na kay pabuhat, na akay ka nang ipahimo, na akay ipa-report. These are interactions, everyday interactions. So these are very critical kumbaga in the success of a business. Whenever relationships are kanang not cemented kumbaga, it's not kanang placed on a good foundation, I tell you, magkayagaw ultimately ang business. Either magsige kag puli og tao, your attrition rate is so high to a point na perhaps your vision for the business might not be kanang a reality kumbaga. Now, relationship management often taps into the other emotional intelligence skills. That's why this is like sort of like the ultimate kanang skill, kumbaga. Once you are able to understand and harness the first three skills, this is like your ultimate skill, kumbaga, in emotional intelligence. And this includes effective communication, conflict management, and the bond that you build over time with the people that you are working with. So, karon, how do we develop EQ? Because ganina, di ba, IQ is something that is not flexible. It's a given. However, EQ is something that you can develop, you can improve because it is a skill. Now, there are, di ba, I shared to you the four core skills. So, for each of the four skills, there are actually approaches or strategies to improve these skills, kumbaga. Again, katong sa book, kani siya, daghan kayo siya per each of the core skills. And I'm going to share to you at least three. Three that I think are very doable. Dili siya, no-brainer siya ba? I think for anyone who is kanang watching this right now nga, magamit, I think applicable siya. In my opinion, applicable kayo siya. So let's start with how you could develop and improve your self-awareness. Know what triggers you. It pays to know something. You need to know, identify unsa ang makapalipay ni Miss Angie Saniel, unsa ang makapalagot ni Miss Carmen. So ikaw, imo siyang i-reflect. So ako, unsa may makapalipay sa ako? Siguro kanang kanang walay problema sa trabaho, tanang mga tao nag-smile, because if it is otherwise, I will feel sad. So know what triggers you. Make a list of the exact people, situations, and environments that trigger certain emotions in you. So when you know who or what triggers you and how exactly it irks you, you can learn to manage the responses. So know what triggers you, and then eventually you would know how to manage those kanang triggers, kumbaga. Observe the ripple effects of your emotional outbursts. Tao man tano, di man ta perfecto. And some of us may not be in that level nga nindot na kayo ang emotional quotient. Ako mismo, naman yung tendencies nga magpadagya po ko sa akong gibati or akong emotions. But once that happens, once you become aware na agoy, to anasad, nagpadana sa ko sa akong gibati, what you need to observe how that outburst affects the people around you. Unsa epekto sa ilaha? Kevs lang ba sila? Okay lang, wala ra. Or some of them, dili na mutingog nimo for, let's say, 1, 2, 3 days. Or mo palayo na nimo. So you need to observe the ripple effects of that emotional outburst. So take note of how your emotions affect people. Ask them for feedback and consciously choose the type of ripples to create. So, ikaw pa ang tao nga, hala, sige, I'm gonna spread sadness to the world? Or are you the type na I'm going to spread happiness and kanang all the positivity in the world? So, again, observe the ripple effects of your emotional outburst. So, you could also make a list. And, kanisha, keep a journal of your emotions. So, kanamit ang mga Dear Diary, kung uso pa na siya karong mga panahon na. But even
Angie, Angie, ano? Dear Diary.
Magdaghan gid ko ana.
So, so good for you, Miss Angie. If muna siya kay nindot siya ba nga something to look back to ba nga. There are even applications karon sa cellphone nga kanang mga mood trackers kumbaga that will allow you to see like after a week's time, after a month's time nga kapila pang ko siguro positive o gibati. Kapila man ko murag negative o gibati. So you can download it sa inyong mga application stores, either Android ba mo or iOS, na ana siya, na ay mga kanang downloadable nga mga mood apps, kumbaga, para ma-monitor kanang how you went through the day generally. Were you happy, sad, angry, frustrated, fearful, or the like? So keep a journal because this, and there are other techniques mind you, but these are dali kay siyang buhaton to help you become self-aware. to harness that self-awareness, kumbaga, of what would trigger you and how you would tend to respond to those triggers. As we approach the self-management, no, so muna ang mga ng ways on how you would be able to develop your approaches for self-management, how to improve this. Kani, breathe right. They say manggod na shallow breathing deprives your brain oxygen. Kay, di ba, remember, atong utok will control how we think and act on things. If wala tayo enough oxygen sa atong brain, most likely our brain will not be able to give us what is the right or rational way to act on certain situations. So, munang gingon nila na, kanito mo, breathe slowly. Take slow, deep breaths, especially for kanang situations that would elicit high kanang intensity sa emotions. Breathe in through your nose deeply and exhale gently through your mouth. So, yeah. Ana siya. So, demonstration jud ko, no? Pero kanang breathe in and breathe out. So, through your nose, breathe in, then exhale gently through your mouth. Because in that way, scientifically, musaka ang amounts of oxygen sa imong brain, and it will allow you, siguro not just sa idea na makalma ka, no? But I think it works, and eventually it will help you to think, jud, rationally. You will not have, the tendencies na magpadaka will be slightly lower than usual when you breathe right. Set aside time in your day for problem solving. So na may usahay mga sitwasyon nga did you madaog breathe in and breathe out. Noon na siya nga fact, ha? Noon na siya nga fact. Did you na siya madarag, kaya breathe in, breathe out ako, then I will have already the solution to the problem. I will be able to act on the situation. Dili na siya yun, ana. So, you might want to set aside a time in your day to do problem solving. They say as short as 15 minutes will help you para lang kanabitang free yourself put from distractions, sa no cell phones, no emails, no Facebook, walay tanaw-tanaw sa TV, kanang ikaw lang jud that you would get to kanang go through again the situation, list it down, or perhaps you could kanabitang itemize what happened para you would be able to keep the matter objectively as you look at it, na unsa may akong dapat buhaton, muni ang sitwasyon, muni nahitabo ganina, naguba siya kay, so what do I do? What will I be able to kanang implement going forward para dili rin siya mahitabo usab. So set aside a time in your day to do problem solving. And last but not the least, kani, I think this is very effective. This is somewhat related to kanabitang if na kay even personal na mga problema, that you run to someone who is not invested or even involved in the situation that you are in. So muna yung mga payong kaibigan. Kanang mga, kuhan lang na ako, nasusukon ko na kanang mga matang sa gugma, mga kuhan, problema sa gugma. Usay mo, dagan mo dito ka ng mga kauban na to nga, dili jud ingon na invested sa tong sitwasyon because they will be able to see things that you are not able to see. Muning ingon that they see things outside of the box. Kay ikaw, invested man ka sa sitwasyon, taas ang chances nga naa ka sa sulod ani nga box. And when you are in a box, dili ka makakita sa possibilities, di ka makakita sa opportunities. Kay imo nakitaan is kanilang man. Wala kay laing makita, wala kay laing ma-appreciate. So, you need to speak with someone who is not emotionally invested in your problem. Okay, this will allow you to see sa ilahang perspective who you are in terms of how you respond, how you act on certain situations that triggered your emotions. So, for example, bay, unsay tan-aw nimo sa akong gibuhat ganina? Kita man ka ato no. Nindot to siya or dili. So, this is where you get feedback. You speak with someone para makahibaw ka, mas aware ka. It will actually help you become more aware of the situation and it will eventually kanang hit and tap on how you will effectively manage yourself for kanang similar situations in the future. Now, approaches for social awareness. So I also have 3 with me here. So this is one of those very dali ra kay buhaton. Set a time to observe. So for example, bahala pag gamay ra imong negosyo or medium scale siya, set a time to observe. And this will not just be limited or only applicable sa mga, let's say, managers or even tag-iya, but even for employees, no? Set a time to observe. Let's say 5-10 minutes every day just to observe, listen, look around you, look at the people that you're working with, unsay malipay siya kay ngano man, maging ani siya kay ngano man, para this awareness will help you to a certain advantage that will help you work with and the emotions of these people that you're working with. The observations you will do might give you hints of how things are doing individually and collectively. So, for example, if makakita kag interaction ni aning tawhana person A with person B in your workspace, once you get to observe na kani si person A, if kanang mahinhin siya magdaog storya aning tawhana, okay siya og in terms of response. But if makakita ka nga yaw-yawan ang yawan sa usa ka tawo ang katong same person na mura siya maratol, dili na siya makahuna-huna. So with that observation, you can put it into mind na kung ako maki-interact ako ani niya, I need to be conscious nga the trigger that I'm going to give the person, bali, the way that I'm going to approach the person, let's say, makistorya ko niya, dapat kalma ko. Dili ko maghara-hara niya. Kaya kung maghara-hara ko niya, tendencies is, parehong nakita na kong niyaging adlaw, dili siya ka-function, di siya kahuna-huna, di siya maka-respond, di siya makatrabaho og tarong. So, set time to observe. Kani practice listening. Listening is a very key. Listening and observing are two key kanang skills to be able to become socially aware. Listening or listen to sounds, volume, and speed of the voice of that person, not just the words that's coming out of that person's mouth, but listen as well to the sound, the pitch, the volume, the pace, kumbaga, because those will give you more kanang awareness, kumbaga, or more depth into where the person is coming from. And give your undivided attention to it to help you stay in the present moment. Kana bitong, if naay tao na makistorya nimo, di ba sometimes you have the tendency to multitask. In an office, typically, naay mo storya, naay meeting, naay uban na hala na sa laptop or na sa cellphone, pero murag naminaw good siya, but kanang he's also doing other stuff. What this is telling us is that when we are in that moment, you need to free yourself from distractions. Because the minute that you free yourself from distractions, it will allow you to have space para mas mahimo kang aware of what's going on around you. You will see the interactions. You will see how people can respond or react to certain words, announcements baga, or kanang whatever it is that builds or makes up the interaction. So practice listening, practice observing. You need to stay in the present moment so that you will have room to absorb more and be more aware of your surroundings. And kanisiya, last but not the least, stepping into their shoes. So this is about gaining the perspective of others by asking yourself, what would I think? What would I do? Or what would I feel if I were in his shoes? This is otherwise called as empathy. Ganina, when I shared to you what social awareness is, I said that to me, this is one very important skill set na sometimes we do not put into greater account, specifically with empathy, because social awareness is actually empathy. How you are able to also perceive what the others are seeing or feeling at that moment. Companies daw, they say, this is just a study, I forgot where the study came from, but most of the companies really lack empathy. Kana bitang you also putting yourselves in the shoes of the others. For example, typical man ng, let's say, manager, mayaw-yawan, maglagot sa iyang subordinate. sa iyang tao nga naay mali, naay sayop na nabuhat. But have we even thought of kung ako ka ang mayaw-yawan? Unsa ka
Ganahan
akong ma-feel? Unsa to, Ma'am Carmen?
Ganahan baka akong yaw-yawan ko.
Kana, exactly, kana jud siya. Mura bitaw katong golden rule nga do unto others what others would want to do unto you, kumbaga ba. So basic man kay nino, murag pagkabata pa ni nato nakuha ni nato nga golden rule, but are we really even applying that now? So with the work environment that we are in, with the individual respective work environments na naata. So it pays to step into the shoes of the people that you're working with so that you will be socially aware. Because again, whatever it is that you do unto others, waka kay bag unsa ang dawat ana nila. May basin ba ka ng okay lang, basin ba og ka nang magdumot pod sila nimo, or wala na, the whole kanang dynamics kumbaga in interaction will be spoiled kay bati na dili na maayo ang kanang imuhang gipakita, kumbaga imuhang actions na gihatag. Pwera na lang kung nindot ka gipakita, then that's a different thing. But what if bati? Because you were not socially aware. So it pays to have some level of empathy and to sometimes step on their shoes once in a while. Kung ako ning buhaton niya, unsa kay bation niya, or kung ako ang maka-experience ana, how will I feel and what will I think about it? So, and kani last but not the least, how you will be able to approach kanang or improve relationship management. So kani, seek feedback. It's really important. When you're in a relationship, mahala pag ka ng unsa ng klaseng relationship, work, love, whatever it is, you need to seek feedback. Kamusta man ko? Unsay tan-aw nimo nako? So you need to listen. When you seek feedback, this is when you get to be open to kana bitong the information that will be given to you. Listen and hear what is being said. All right? You need to take some time to absorb the information that will be given to you, even to a point na kanabitang unsa may pasabot niya atong pagsulti na ingon ani, to a point perhaps that you would want to be more specific nga, sige nisulti ka ani about nako nga nindot imuhang impression sa ako, asa dapita ato, unsay nakapaingon nimo nga nindot imong impression sa ako, para makasabot ko, makahibaw ko nga doing this actually is giving a good impression to the people surrounding me. And once you were able to, let's say, sort out your feelings or your thoughts about the feedback that was given to you, decide on how you're going to take on that going forward. Is it something na akong i-retain, na every time I have that particular situation, it's good that I get to do this response? Or will I adjust my response para dili kay kumugawas nga bati ang ako ang pag-approach ato nga sitwasyon? Another is to build trust. Of course, in any relationship, any type of relationship that is, you need to be able to build that trust. Kay trust man good is the foundation of everything. Once trust is kanang wala, either compliance na lang na ilang buhaton sa imuha, or perhaps kanang pinakabati is they're not going to really kanang do their best because there's no trust. So how will you be able to harness the trust? Open communication, willingness to share. When I think open communication, this can also be about being transparency, especially knowing why are we doing the things that we are doing. Willingness to share could mean as simple as kana bitaw mo share ka sa imuhang mga kauban nga niagi ba yan sa kog ingon ana, and I'm going to share to you my story, my personal story regarding that situation. Because in that way, other people would be able to say nga okay mo sakto po daay no tao man sa daay siya, so pwede radyo daay na ingon ana. I should not be fearing of anything, or I should be confident about what I am going to do. Consistency as well about thoughts, actions, and beliefs. So this is about kanabitang integrity. If integrity means also to kanang impact trust, because trust ultimately would allow you to foster relationships. Again, this is one of the foundations when you want to build a strong relationship. And when you care, show it. When you care about the people that you're working with, show it. Dili porket ka nang pakitang gilas lang. If you really care about the person, show it and be consistent with it. Kay again, tao ang ato ang mga kadang katrabaho. Dili ini sila mga machines, dili ini sila mga computer. They have feelings, they have emotions too. So when you get to show that you care, they will really kanang bitang gisultis akong manager before kanang putting investment on the emotional bank. Because showing care is doing actually that. And once that is puno, hitik na siya, mind you, the people are really going to kanang give that back to you in terms of kanang work output, ilahang kugi, ilahang kanang paningkamot to make what they are doing kanang better to help you eventually as business owners become kanang profitable and successful in your own businesses. Now, kani, last but not the least, sige, magstorya ka about emotional intelligence, unsa siya, the core skills, what we can do to develop it. So, para sa siya. Ano, di na naman lang pwede IQ na lang ta, pabritanay na lang ta. Total, trabaho raman ni siya. So, nga na importante man ni siya. Ako ni pakita sa inyo nga table ha. I got this from kanang an internet site, harvardbusinessreview.org, wherein it shows kumbaga skill sets that are really, I say, have basic, logical, and vital to the success of any business and interactions of employees. When you look at self-awareness here, of course, know yourself. Because ikaw, you're part of the bigger system. You're part of this network, kumbaga, of people working for that business or that organization. When you talk about self-management, you'll be able to have these particular skill sets, emotional self-control. You will not just immediately, go into emotional outbursts. You get to manage yourself. It will help you strengthen or harness your adaptability, your achievement orientation, because you need to control yourself, because at the end of the day, ang imong pungtumong is you want to have kanang a positive working kanang situation or atmosphere in the place that you are working or the things that you are doing. And it also gives you that mindset to have constantly that positive outlook. When you harness on social awareness, katong empathy, and also organizational awareness, not just empathy, no, but knowing the people that you're working with, it pays to really know who these are. Because again, lain-lain man tagigikanan. So how can we invest and utilize and optimize the differences na to make whatever it is that we're doing sa negosyo na to or sa businesses that we run be successful? Because di ba bati masag kayo pare-pareho ra tano, nindot man ng diversity, but how do we harness on that diversity? So organizational awareness and relationship management, especially for kanang mga managers or kanang mga line leaders, kumbaga, kani influence, coaching and mentoring, conflict management, how you'd spearhead teamwork, and inspirational leadership. If tan-aw nimo ni siya all together, no, these are very, again, to me, in my opinion, very vital, very important, and very logical skill sets na magamit jud nimo to make ultimately your business successful and thrive. Okay, again, your business is composed of people, and these are all like people-related skills. Now, to add lang, impacts of having EQ, no, of course, better work environment. Kay magkasinabtanay man, you have this ability already to understand what triggers people and how these emotions come into play and how this impacts the bigger picture, which is the work environment, the people that you're working with, and your success as a business. Being emotionally intelligent gives you the ability to understand non-verbal communication. Okay, it's not just about looking at verbal communication cues, but also ka ng mga non-verbal cues. Say, for example, ka ng mga lagkalit, or ka ng mga nampiling na, kung storya na si boss, or ka ng magdoko-doko na. These are non-verbal cues nga magtuo mong wala siya gamit, pero naa siya gamit because, say, for example, nagstorya ka nga, very kuan na kay ka, technical na kay ka, diyan na niwa nagadoko-doko na. So what would that mean?
Kasabot.
Laksabot.
wala nakasabot, murag ay nanasad ni siya. Ang uban ana magsulti nga sus lagi bright na lagi ka, ikaw na. Sana all ana siya kumbaga. So kanang you need to this is where your awareness will kick in and adjust ako gamay no. Siguro akong ibutang in layman's term or perhaps I might invite the people instead na ako rin magsigstorya. Why don't I invite the people in that meeting to also talk? Masay tan-aw ninyo para dili lang ako ang magsigigstorya. So kana siya. That's also one way of looking at it. Understanding emotions allow you to be self-aware of personal emotions and make adjustments before it becomes an issue. So katuno about being self-aware and self-management. This will really come into play because again, you are part of a bigger network. So how will you be able to manage yourself ultimately for you to become an effective member of the bigger picture? So practicing emotional intelligence can help you develop strong interpersonal skills that can help your team, such as better communication, collaboration, and ultimately you're going to get to the bottom line, which is motivation. So para kanino ka gumigising araw-araw? What motivates you to really do the things that you are doing? Once you are able to harness your emotional intelligence, mind you, as in smooth na lang jud kain na mura ra siya, you are not going to force people are just going to do it jud kanang wholeheartedly. And having emotional intelligent workforce promotes progress because at the end of the day businessman ta, we are there because we want to provide services. We are there to, let's say, because of monetary considerations or reasons, but ultimately businesses are there because we want to become successful. And we can only be successful if we get to also understand our workforce, the people that we are working with, what ticks them, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, and kanang how what we are doing impacts them, how it impacts them kumbaga. So ultimately, we need to understand, again, I cannot repeat myself. I've been repeating myself many times no nga, we are working with people, we're not working with machines. So kani ending lang din ako nga koan nga more take away lang for you. So when dealing with people, Dale Carnegie said that when dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but with creatures of emotion. Mag-una jud na siya. So you need to understand first so that you'll be able to know and understand and choose the right thing to do. Because that forms the interaction and everything will, come into play. So muna siya. So hopefully, Koan, you were able to gain something about emotional intelligence, the people side of doing business, kumbaga, and hopefully you're also able to get kanang insights ba and kanang perspective into why we also need to consider harnessing this particular skill, which is emotional intelligence. So, wala siya. Salamat kay sa pagpaminaw.
Thank you very much, Ma'am
Kaayo,
Joy.
Miss Joy.
Thank
you.
Makapahinok ko. Ala kuwangan ko ana. Ala kuwangan ko. Murang murang daghan makikubuhatunon.
Kuan siya, Miss Carmen, kuan siya, dili siya kanang lalim, dili siya dali kasi I also had to go through it myself. Hinahinay jud siya kay kana bitong the dynamics ba of where you're coming from, personality pud nimo will also kanang come into play, pero kanang it will really take kanang time mo bitaw this particular skill can be developed.
That's why I think, di ba sa mga bata karon, di na gid academic lang ang focus of our schools. They said it shouldn't be focused on academic alone. Dapat well-rounded gid ang students, di ba? Kasi mo na gina ang trust of our schools karon, di ba?
Correct.
Pero kay baw ka, unsaon man nimo ug nabi gyud tawo nga dili gyud mo kuan, dili gyud mo
Ang EQ.
What do EQ? Ubos na yung EQ. Unsaon man nimo? Isang unsaon nimo like ato yung example. Nangaon ni gibilin na ang kuan niya. So di ka man yung imong hugasan ang plato, ikay mabutan diha sa plato. Ini kaugma na lang gihapon Yun na ba? Lisod jud kaayo diba?
Kana siya, Miss Carmen. Kana siguro sa ako lang opinion no, kana this is where kana bitong the aspect of relationship will also kanang come into play kay example ako tong tag-iya atong gamay yanong kananan nya let's say ang instructions nako sa mga tao na before manaraduha dapat kani kana so magsinabtanay ta kung mao nang mahitabo siguro kana I might do it sige ako manghugas but mahitabo na pag gani siya balik that's the time na ako siyang storyaan muning kanang the technical side na pod of kanang management will come in ba nga how will you address certain situations kay pwede man siya mo evolve into a conflict so how will you kana effectively manage that particular situation ba so kana katong sa sugod pa lang na discussion dapat kalma ka dapat collective imong thoughts your objective at the
So,
situation
magsuwat na lang ka kung ano, tasking. Karon ikay manghugas, tunod ikay manghugas.
pwede jud
Yes.
na ingon ana yes pwede ra jud siya
Kung namay usay, ubahan din mga kahit ng gigulo. Anyway, sige.
Nadyo na ingon ana that's why sometimes would dili man pud kanang kanabit taong pag-hire nimo pag-hire og tao also is very important you need to really kanang screen and kanang perhaps
Apil na sa
ask
test yun sa
questions
uban, no? Sa
Yes.
entrance, no?
Yes.
correct kana so imo jud na i-test tagaan nimo kanang sa amo sa HR mo mga muhatag mo yung mga situational questions nga nabay panahon nga mo ni ang gihatag na instruction sa imuha pero wala nimo gisunod unsa man to so at that point mag-gauge nimo ang tao nga agoy kani siya na jud ni basin labad ni sa ulo nako if ako ning i-hire or kani nga tao okay ni siya kay nindot ni siya kanang regard with regard to instruction so at least ikaw dili na kay ka ana ka hapo when it comes to kanang managing bitaw the whole business and if ultimately basin maka-impact pud gani na sa imuhang how you would harness the skills in emotional intelligence so kana
Daghan kitag nakatunan na. Ikaw karon na.
Nag-overload.
Pero nindot gid kaayo siya Ma'am
Ang
Joy.
paminawog balik, paminawog jud ni natong balik.
Daghan na kay kog notes nga gi-post
Yay.
karon.
Bitaw
Sa
nagsigig
Facebook.
suwat-suwat si Miss Angie.
Applicable na ni Manji. Ma-apply.
Applicable kaayo sir. Actually kana ma-share po nato sa to magkasibya kay marag during the pandemic ba on the business side ikaw nga nagtrabaho or bisan sud sa panimalay gamit jud kay ang self-awareness murag through the pandemic dito na ko na realize ba nga kumusta jud ko di man ang laing taong makatubag ako man sa kaugalingon and kumusta man ko padong sa ubang tao kay during the pandemic pud lahi na gani atong approach sa butang lahi na pud ato
Yes.
ang kanang response sa uban pud nga mga tao so I think nindot ni alang natong tanan no kay makahibaw ta nga mao na ba ni atong direction I think kini nga self-awareness Ma'am Joy from time to time ang gud mo usab siya so dili ingon nga mao ni ako pag 2020 magyapon ako karon ig 2021 so tan-aw nato atong mga Canon winners naba sila igong self-awareness kay base nangaway na ni sila og mga customer kay tungod lagi sa kagubot ba kay daghan nag-orders kay karon kay delivery naman ang pamaagi basin na-trigger sila dayon, nag-post sila dautan baka silang customers ato nang pagtan-aon. Unahon na to si Sir Edgar daw Arnae. Sir Edgar, maayong hapon.
Maayong hapon dungog ra ko ma'am.
Yes, madungog ra jud Sir Edgar.
Ra.
Yes sir, klaro ra. Ikaw sir, kalma man gid kaayo ka nga entrepreneur pero kumusta man ang imong self-awareness ug imong EQ?
Okay. Kung sa tanan ni Ma'am Carmen, ni Sir Devin, ni Miss Joy, may hapon ni Ma'am Lina, may hapon. Actually, Ma'am, sa akong business karon murag kay wa pa man ko itaw, ako ramang mga relatives mo akong gipatabang nako karon. But before katong nag-work ako sa usa ka company, ma-relate yun ako ang gi-istorya ni Ma'am Joy nga kay katong ako manage sa among usa ka production area. So na ako'y mga supervisors and then ay mga tao nga mong i-hire as contractual. So ang contractual dili nimo kanang lain-lain og kinaiya ba, kay every 5 months
Yes.
mag-ilis na pod, so another sad personnel after 5 months. So naagyod siya so kinahanglan gyud ni
Kinahanglan gyud magsigig adjust
mo-adjust
kanunay.
ka. Yes ma'am, kinahanglan gyud kay ang klase sa tao na atanan na bugal-bugalon, na bata-bataon, na
Nice.
tigong-tigwangon sad.
Mao jud.
So, nagbuhat ko checklist sa production area na every time so i-report na 7 o'clock. So it's personnel, it's katong mga employee. So gitagaan na to sila assignment sa production area kay maglimpyo, maglimpyo sa machine, maglimpyo sa manilhig sa floor ana-ana. So adto na ko sa office, igsuri na ko sa production area mga 8 or 9 o'clock. So na dito makita nimo nagbata-bata, nagduwa-duwa. So dili ra ko mubuyag kay naman ko gihatag nga supervisor nga mo handle. So igbalik na nako sa office, ang akong buhaton is ako ipatawag ang supervisor o katong employee nga nagkita na ko nga nagduwa-duwa. So akong pa-explainon sila one by one para makuha gyud nako ang ilahang nga ang supervisor nagpabaya ba, nawa kabuyag. So after ana makuha na nako ang ilahang kanang idea nilang duha. So warningan sa to na akong employee nga wala ta diri na narbaho nga magduwa-duwa. So kinahanglan kung sa imong assignment imo gyud nang buhaton every day before mag-start sa production o after sa production kay ningarita kay natay output nga gi-maintain na makuha na to every day. So daghan adjust good every day, adjust.
By the way, Miss Joy, si Edgar used to work with IPI.
Di gid mahimo.
Kay ba kay si Miss Joy na IPI, kay na may Toastmasters Club sa IPI.
Mo to mga kung akong singkahan maglagot ko, so ang the whole day nako maguba na, so di na ko kabuhat og tarong sa tibuok adlaw. So mura na siya akong
Kadugay di ay sa imong kainit sa ulo no, sa manjud ka adlaw.
Kaya siya pasensya ano.
Dino matuyo man kay na taon na pod wa pa lunch time na nasay mo report ni bunga ana sa dito nag-away. Nasay nya dili raman lalaki na may babae pod.
Taga barangay Kasambagan ka ba kasagaran ninyo mga tao diha.
Sakto may kalma kay siya kay kung ikay musuko ko no ikay alkansi.
Tinood
Okay.
na siya.
Kaya musuko ka ikaw may alkansi, ikaw may mga stress.
Oo.
Okay. Wala nga ako lang ipatawag. Ato lang sa opisina nako paistoryahon kung say mga consequences nga dito sa production area nga naitabo. So amo adjust gyud ta gyud kay ang lain-laing employee, lain-lain og kinaiya gyud.
Tinood yun na, sir. Lain-lain yun ka ng gikanan ba? So, ka na.
Bisan gani imong anak siguro sir lain-lain sa dukabilidad. No?
Oh, lain-lain gyud ma'am.
Lahi kag timpla sa imong mga anak ug unsaon nimo pagkuan nila, pag-approach nila.
Ma-adjust gyud ka.
Kita naman no imo adjust no. Dili atong mga anak. Si Ma'am Lina, kuan bago ra ba ni siya kuan ron shop ron daghanan ni siya bagong tao.
Wow.
Hello,
Yun sabi mo
ma'am.
pag-hire.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Sorry na late ko ganina. Good afternoon atong tanan, no? Ma'am, bago lang siguro ang location ako sa akong shop, pero ang mga tao the same ra. The same ra, wala mag-change, pero naaray kanang giundang na gyud siya kay maglisod na siya o kuan biya kay naay iyang apo gibantayan. So, ako i-share regarding sa atong topic karon, no? Kanang sakto gyud kaayo tanan nga gihisgutan ni Miss Joyce diri nga para nako kanang kuan gyud kay siya kanang bitang mga reminders. Although nakahibaw na ta ani before during sa atong eskwela naana ni usa na ni mga topic, but then nakalimtan na to tungod sa panghitabo sa mga panahon nga niabot sa kabisi or whatever. So ang ako lang i-share regarding sa ako ang experience as tag-iya sa gamay nga negosyo is kanang kuan gani kanang before dugay-dugay naman jud ko sa akong negosyo, daghan akong mga tao nga na-meet, mag-ilis-ilis, pero kani Ginoo ako karong mga tao murag dugay na ni sila niya naanad na niya. Ako alang gina i-share lang nako before mo start ko or mo hire ko og tao nga ako gini-inform sila nga diri sa akong negosyo nga gamay, dili lang ni ako ang negosyo, kanang ato ning negosyo kay kung dili mo maningkamot so wala tay output or whatever. So mao jud na akong ginakuha nila. So dapat maningkamot sad mo nga nindot ang outcome sa atong business. So una gyud kanang ang akong ikuan sa ila kanang dili sila mali kay kuan magud kanang kung mali syempre kung dugay sila mo abot gamay na lang ila matrabaho for the day nga 8 hours so manaapay paniud to naapa sila snacks pa so naay time nga labi na kung daghang kaayo kanang kinahanglan i-deliver ana naatay kanang sayngan ani kanang date nga dapat i-meet nato para ma-delivery. So at the pagsugod sa pagsugod sa day in a week like Monday moingon na jud ko nila Saturday na atay delivery so dapat Friday humana naka-packing na ta nakasugod na ta so di ko ganahan malate mo nya kung mo absent gani mo sulti daan aron makapangita og way nga ma-cover up. So usa sad kanang ako gyud ginakuan sa ilaha kanang di ko ganahan kanang ugaw akong kuan akong production or ang akong opisina or ang akong kanang gamay nga tahian no. Ganahan ko kung asa gikuha ang usa ka butang mabalik siya in a proper way. Murag inana gid akong ganahan ko hapsay kay mas nindot man gud mo trabaho kung hapsay. So dili ko ganahan nga ang makina usa nila biyaan dapat hapnig siya, limpyo na siya. One time na ako'y usa ka mananahi nga kana bitong tingpatad jud siya og kanang swertres ug sa na luto o dili man sad luto kanang swertres. So dili ko ganahan nga adto gyud siya mosuwat sa kanang board gani sa makina ito ini isuwat yang numero. So first, second, gibuhat niya ako lang papason kay kinasayuhan jud ko musud sa mga kay ako may moabli. So akong papason to then na po di ka next na po akong gipapas para makibaw siya nga dili to maayo. But then pag ikatulo na ako na gyud siya gikuhit. Ako na gyud siya kay ang ako man sad good every Saturday na ami one-on-one sa akong mga tao. Pero dili gyud mi one-on-one kani ipatawag na ko sila unsay concern regarding sa ilang mga problema siguro sa ilang family, problema nila regarding sa among gitahi or gitrabaho. So inana then nasad mi ka ng group me para unsay ilang dili ganahan inana. So ganahan ko inana para ako makasabot sad ko nila, makasabot sad sila nako unsay akong kuan kay para sa among working kuan magkasinabtanay mi. So kadto siya ako siyang gitawag nga dili ko ganahan nga magsulat ka og luto numbers makina. Ay basta dili lang jud ko ganahan og kanang sugal. Mao jud na siguro ako dili ko ganahan jud kay I don't know gikan pa sa una di ko kay sayang man gud although cheese ra na siya. So ako siya ganahan kabaw ka cheese 3 times siya magpatad every day. So cheese. So in day 30 pesos ako siya ganahan 30 pesos niya times 5 days kay Monday to Saturday. So inana pila man ako imo nang tigumon makapalit na kag pila ka kilo nga bukas. So hinahinay gyud ako siya gikuha. Ako siyang giobserbaran kay kadto murag na patad na siya once a day until such time na wala na siya nipatad niya. Every Wednesday sad kuan sa mi before mi mo start ka na naaman mi ka na mag-pray mi sa rosaryo or mag-chaplet mi sa Divine Mercy. So after ana ako sila nagbihan ka na unsay makapaligon kay na kitang tanan ako nga tag-iya sila labi na sila na sila yung mga problema no. So ako gid sila ginan nga kani especially pandemic lisod kayo. So ako silang ginatagaan og gamay nga kuan nga dili lang gyud ta magpakawag paglaom maning kamot ta kay kaning tanan mahuman ra ni siya unya malipay sa sila ba kay naiuban sa ilaha nga wala gid sila siguro nakakuan dun sa ang prayer, wala sila nakakuan dun sa ang kanang pag-ampo, pagsalig sa Ginoo. So hinay-hinay hantod na anad na sila ya. Bisan wala ko kanang lakaw ko kanang kuan siya kanang ilan ang buhaton nga mag-chaplet sila every kanang sa 3 o'clock kanang sa Divine Mercy. So nya ilang makinag mapitla na nila instead na katong loto na o katong numero sa kuan papitla na nila og kanang na ko chaplet na gagmay ginhatag nila stampita sa Divine Mercy. So mo na changes nga nahatag siguro na ako ilang nga ginagmay niya. Maura ko siya nga kanang nindot kaayo ang topic karon kay kanang kuan ano eye opener nato nga kanang daghan kay output. Thank you Miss Joy, thank you Ma'am Carmen, thank you tanan kay kana bitong sa atong kabisi karon. Yes, tinutugi ni Miss Angie nga diri sa pandemic karon daghang kay tag kanang na kuan bitaw tungod kay wala ta nakagawa pero ako sa ako alang no kanang the more niabot ang pandemic daghan kaay kog mga trials na niabot especially katong na positive sa family pero kanang ako gyud nag-embrace ng mga challenges daghan kaay mga canceled na orders akong gi-embrace kay nangano kanang para na ko every challenges, every problems about sa kinabuhi kanang gi-allow ni God na may tabo para mahimo siguro kung ligod nga tao or mo learn ko lesson out of it. Yeah, but that lesson so ako pod ma-share ko giunsa na ko paglikod nga until this moment na nakatarong gyapon ko. So maura na
Thank
siya.
you. Salamat kaayo Ma'am Lina and si Sir Edgar niya. Haom kaayo kay kining ato mga kin winners sab nga kauban karon kay ila jung na practice na experience sa atong mga gihisgutan sad karong hapon kalabot gyud ni sa ilabi na pag-manage atong emotions na apply nila mo nang makita nato nga kalma ra sad gyud kayo niya to ang mga big winners kay niagi na day sila atong tanan kakalisod ka ni adto ilahan nang na manage no ang ilang tagsa-tagsa ka mga business. Mo basa lang sad ko sa pipila ka mga reaction sa atong mga naminaw murag daghang naka-relate gud Ma'am Joy nalipay ta ani kay daghan ang mga ni comment sama ni Ma'am Maritis Musni lain pod natong winner atong Siomay Queen sa Siomay Subo ingon siya nga karon sa pandemic company schedules monthly meetings or one-on-one with employees for emotional check-up. Psychologist or psychiatrist comes over for this alone. Nga, nagpasalamat po dyan ni Ma'am Joy for sharing this very important aspect in life because in these times, emotional intelligence will get us through more often than our intellect. Thank you kaayo, Ma'am Marites.
Salamat.
Naminaw po na to si Sir B-Boy Byong, si Ma'am Bibing Maratas po. Thank you very much, Ma'am Joy. A really informative discussion. Hasa si Ma'am Chappy Pyramide, Ma'am. Ni Bakbaksad. Kaya naminaw po na to karong hapon. Sa ato ang discussion din he. So sa di pa ta mahuman mga kasibya, akong gi-encourage mo sa pagpadangat sa inyong mga tubag alang sa ato ang mga pangutana karong hapon. Marag bonus gini kay natay 5 questions. First 3 lang nga makahatag nato og saktong tubag out of the 5 questions. So pili mo sa sayon nga pangutana aron nga kamoy makadaog sa ato nga papremyo. So ako na ning gi-paste ang o gipin na nako sa ato ako ran nga live ang question. So pwede niyo balikan later base na uwahin mo sa pagtan-aw karon sa live nato. And ako pong i-flash karon sa ato nga screen ang mga pangutana. So mo ni siya mga kasibi again. Una, unsa ni siya ang ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others, and the ability to use this awareness to manage your behavior and relationships. Mo ni main focus og topic nato karong hapon. Ikaduha, paghatag og usa sa 5 ka core feelings. Ikatulo, paghatag og usa sa 2 ka primary competencies in emotional intelligence. Ikaupat, name one ra gihapon of the 4 emotional intelligence skills. Ug ikalima, true or false, can emotional intelligence be developed? So ipadangat inyong answers again sa ato na nga comment section diha sa atong Facebook because I will review that hangtod sa alas 3 karong hapon sa alang sa atong pangutana. Ya, sige makog screenshot aron masayunan mo adto mo sa akong profile na mga answer dito. Mga kasibya. So, again, samtang nagpaabot na sa inyong tubag, ako lang pong i-remind ato ang mga kasibya kung nakahatag na mo na to og correct answers for 2 weeks na to and then nakadaog mo sa atong premyo, hatagan sa natong chance og opportunity ang uban. So, in a month, makahatag lang mig 2 ka prize sa usa nato ka listener. So, lain na pod nato nga tigpaminaw ang posible nga makadaog. And reminding sad everyone, alang pod ni sa every month, naman tayo morag month ender, no? I-compile ninyo ang tanan na nga questions. Apil na po ang answer, ana, o ipada ninyo sa email ni Ma'am Carmen. Ako na ning ipakita ron tadtaod mga kasibya. carmen.pyramide2015@gmail.com. Aron nga makadaog pod mo og 500 pesos. So, dako na kay ning ikatahabang no sa matag usa nato mga kasibya. So sa
Dili
naminaw,
lang
yes,
dili lang
ma'am.
tama Miss Angie no kanang maka tuko pa jud og maayo sa ilang ko ano. Nya nasad sila mabalik-balik og tan-aw nga unsa na siya. So, mas they can also learn more.
Yes. So, may ni kay mura na sila na notebook every session nato. So, mas may siguro na gyud mo notebook na lang diha. Mo ni pangutana rong si manaha mo ni tubag nya bisag 3 questions ra na and ang gi-prepare din nila mapangutana mo unjoy core no sa atong discussion. So, naagyud mo mahinumduman at least every week sa atong gipang discuss mga kasibya. And again, you can review sad ato ang previous nga mga episodes through Sibia TV. Og sa hinapos nga bahin sa atong tulumanon, atong pasalamatan sad, atong mga nakauban karong hapon, dinhi sa ato ang Sibia TV, mga kasibya. Unahon lang pod nato pagpaawhag sa atong mga winners sa ato ang mga listeners aron nga mo contact nila, mo order sa ilang mga produkto karon. Unahon na pod nato si Ma'am Ma'am Lina Maniwang, Ma'am Lina.
Hello, mamayang hapon usab no. Salamat kay sa pinaagi sa PNN makahatag na sa amin. So ako di ay no si Carmelina Maniwang, ang akong produkto kay ang akong shop kay Quatro Maria Home of Fashion. Na siya located sa Tungaan Mindanilla, but then pwede ko ninyo i-contact through Messenger katong Carmelina Maniwang. Yan asad ko yung fan page na Quatro Maria Home of Fashion. Actually, bago na akong number Miss Angie kay na-snatch akong cellphone last December. Ipagikuanan pag yun ko no na kuan ang pandemic na pag yun. So akong number kay 0947 350-3603. So, pwede sila makontakan. Ako, Osbon, 350-3603. So, thank you kaayo niya. Itong kinahanglan o mga kanang mga sinina, mga gowns for any occasions, mga school and office supplies,
Flowers for Valentine's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tomorrow is Valentine's pero ma'am, stop na kong book.
Fully booked na?
Yes. Ay ko ano good sir kana actually
Good problem.
Karon bitaw na ako yung mga kuan diri nga mo order pag ibalibaran na nako una.
Next year na.
Na-close me sa J-Mall kay mauna to avoid risk o nga adluksan ko nga dili mahurot akong baligya dito. So what I did is nag-online call. So far ubay na sa dang order. Thank you so much sa nag-order. So tomorrow na I mo pick up dito sa shop na asad mi i-deliver. Karon ang nag-order na ay duha nga ni ko anako. Ibalibad na ko kay kana dili na ko ganahan nga magkarag-karag ko nga mo purchase ko buwa karon kay wala na ibuwa karon sa katinuoy lang na ako'y supplier dito nang utana ko sa iya before ko niya rin kung how much is the dozen of flowers na karon. Tingnan siya 600 to 800 pesos per dozen. Wala pa na siya gihimong bouquet. So ano akong i-advise sa mga ubano nga inaani gani occasion dapat mag-pre-booking kay kami sad makapabook ni sa mong supplier as early as we can so barato pa sad. So mana makadawat pa kung barato pero kung karon sila mo order mo lang maglisod na ko. So nipalipad ako sa duha ni order karon sa diri. So wala na siya. Thank you kayo ya Sir Kevin akong gi-promise after ani paghimo kong sample for Mother's Day na sa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Naami gihimo nga kanang maghimo ko og kanang design lang for KNN nga kuan KNN co-op nga design nga dili na ko ang design for Mother's Day alone nga para ra gid sa co-op nga dili na ko inmuhon sa ako ang kuan para naa siya kuan jud na for KNN na siya nga design sa bouquet of flowers. So thank you kaayo.
Salamat kay Ma'am.
Hapon. Sa opportunity, thank you so much. Very
Thank you, Ma'am
informative
Lina.
kaayo ang topic karon. Na late ko gamay pero sa imong
Sige ra
Dili
gyud.
gud pirmi ang tong topics.
Yes.
yes. Kanang
We're
sometimes
trying to do that. We're trying to do that.
Yes. Kuan lang mamusay kanang naapoy ma-miss kay hinay kay kayang among data ra mo dakong gamiton dito sa shop kay wala pa koy internet dito so tong gadali ko uli diri kay mo kamang ko dito og cellphone akong gamiton. So thank you.
Okay.
Good
Si
afternoon ni
Edgar.
Ma'am Lina Maniwang na ato lang pag itawag ni danihon ang uban natong maminaw nga mohatag sad mog bouquet bisag dili Valentine's Day aron daghan sila order. Dito ni Sir Edgar.
Excuse me, Miss Angie daw, kanang
Oh, ma'am.
every day daw is a Valentine's Day to those nga naay relationship. So, dili kinahanglan moabot ang Valentine's na mga tagkag-bouquet, especially kung doon pero kita Miss Angie. Ay, di ba Miss Angie? Sabi balita mo lang, naan naman ni siya.
Mag-order taa lang sa tong kaugalingon. Ito ni Sir Edgar Arnaiz. Sir Edgar.
May hapon sa tanan, no? Again, for Valentine's,
Wow.
Perfume.
perfume. So, nanay order daghana o aloe vera, papaya soap, activated charcoal soap. So, for Valentine's special products.
And pwede
makita ko
said,
ninyo,
sige, go.
ma'am.
Sige, go ahead.
Makita ko ninyo sa okay ma'am sa FB page no Zen Enterprises o makontak sa ko ninyo sa 0943 0834 0832 546.
Saag namin.
Thank you. Daghang salamat.
Thank you, Sir Edgar. Next year, Sir Edgar, pag-imog bundle. Package na ba? Sa tanan. Ng mga produkto. Kaninda.
O, tagaan ka niya bundle nga para labag, Angie.
Opo, para laba. Para pagwapa. Oy, kinahanglan. Ang mga wife, di ba, para uyab ng Valentine's, so, imong mama, imong partner, kinahanglan og panlaba, pampagwapa, pampabeauty. So order na mo sa produkto ni Sir Edgar.
Pwede sa niya ipangkuan tire block sa iyang sa mga laki.
Sa mga laki.
Pasinaw sa sakyanan.
Tire block para maglimpyo silang sakyanan.
Okay, mamisita ma'am, at least sinaw ang sakyanan.
So mabalik ra gyapon na ninyo, girls. Kay limpyo ang sakyanan nagbisita sa inyo habitaw. So mo ni mga nindot kay mga produkto sad sa ato mga KNN winners, and of course magpasalamat pud ta nila sa pag-share sa ila hapon nga mga experiences karon sa ato ang laing episode sa Magnegosyo Ta Bai. And to end our episode this afternoon, ato ang pasalamatan Ma'am Carmen, si Ma'am Joy Roman sa iyahang pag-share karong hapon sa ihapong mga kahibaw, especially about emotional intelligence.
Okay, pasalamat ni Miss Joy sa iyang topic karon no na emotional intelligence niya. Daghang kay tay nakatunan. In fact, ako laging giingon hala kuwangan ko ani. Murag kuyawan ako murag di na gid ni maapas na ako nga ma-improve ko in my lifetime. Bitaw Miss Joy, thank you very much. It was a very kanang daghan kay may nakatunan. Yeah. Daghan kaayo may ma-apply gyud no. Dili lang sa ato ang negosyo but sa ato ang personal sa atong personal life nato ma-apply gyud kaayo nato. Yeah. Kanang kahilapon na kay ko dili. Thank you so much, Miss Joy.
Ako
And we
dapat ang
hope-
mag-thank you, Miss Carmen. I mean, thank you kaayo ani nga
Si Miss Joy is a trainer din siya. Yeah. May kaya na siya mo-train. So maybe next time, tagaan na sa taniya iyahang time no para
Hey.
maka-train.
I-book na daan sa schedule. Anytime mo
Anytime.
kayo tagay nag-date karon.
August.
Pero salamat kayo, Miss Carmen, kay Miss Angie, kay Sir Devin, kay Sir Edgar, and Miss Lina, and to everyone for the opportunity jud kay kanang I mean, who would know that I would be able to be here no and share what kanang I know and what I'm passionate about. So salamat kayo sa higayon and hopefully dili siya kanang overload ka kay sa tanan. Siguro sa group chat I'll send a copy of the slides para you will have something to look into food after this kanang
This will be this can be seen sa Facebook, Miss Joy, no? And Miss Joy, Miss Angie, makita ni sa Facebook ug sa YouTube. No? So ato lang inon pud ang atong mga listeners. By the way, we are now accepting applicants for KNN, no? For KNN. So naamoy kanang gusto mo appeal, tawagan lang ninyo si Mr. Devin Go. Naan na siya sa messenger.
Okay. Nangita gid mi mga beneficiaries karon no. This is what.
Nangita gid mi og mga tawo nga matabangan ng kaya tawagan lang ninyo si Mr. Devin Go. Naan na siya sa Facebook, no? Naan na siya sa Facebook. So, anak lang ninyo siya kontakan. And then he will get back to you and do an interview.
Yes. Mauna nga, hopefully atong mga sessions and episodes sa ilabi na pagsugod sa pandemic, Ma'am Carmen, hangtod karon tabang na nila nga mas prepared sila because I think mauna duha nila pag-apil nga lahi na ang sitwasyon karon, makasugakod ba ka sila to take the risk and to start a business and hopefully nahimo uming instrument sa aron maandam na mo alang sa pag-apil karon sa lang season na pod sa KNN. Gusto sa ato mga pasalamatan ato sad nga mga sponsors and partners, Sir Devin.
Yeah, magpasalamat na sa atong sponsors ang Bayanihan Champions, BBC Prince Stop ug si Mr. Ronald po. And of course, magpasalamat na sa atong partners, University of San Carlos School of Business and Economics, ang USC SBE Alumni Association, ang Department of Labor and Employment, DOSP, and CBF-TV. And mag-hi, Demi. Isa to si Choppy?
Yes.
Okay. Hello.
Dali-dali kaligo. Dali-dali kaligo para makaano
Fresh na fresh. Magpasalamat sa itong mga listeners, no? Especially kag mga regular na gisigig paminaw sa itong program.
Yes. So again, thank you very much sa tanan nga bisita ug naminaw nato, nagtanaw nato karong hapon sa atong episode dinhi sa Negosyo Ta Bai. Again, mudawat pa ko sa inyong mga tubag, na overwhelmed to sa to nakatunan, but ay magkalimot sa inyong answers kay mao na makada nato og importante gyud kay natin mga gifts og para sa to mga minahal sa kinabuhi. Again, makasibya sangan sa to makaubanan sa Sibya TV. Ako si Angie Saniel og maayong hapon kanatong tanan mga kasibya.